All right, we are live. Audio should be working. Going to give a few minutes for people to gather. I know I kind of scheduled this at the last minute, but I do what I can when I can. All right. So I don't get the sense that a lot of people were that interested in tight ends in the draft. I am probably a lot more interested than the average person, but I thought I'd go ahead and do my follow up stream regardless. So I'll give another maybe 50, 45 seconds for people to gather up. And then we'll just go ahead and dive in and talk about what needs to be talked about. We're going to go through 12 different tight end prospects who caught my attention and give people the opportunity to comment on them as well as anybody I may have missed. Hey, Devin Martzall, welcome. Shanab, welcome. Yes, Drop Top, I will be streaming games after this. Hey, Ghost. All right, let's go ahead and get underway. We'll pick up people as we go along. So, I've spent the last couple of days talking about my favorite tight end prospects in this draft, and I'm telling you guys, do not sleep on tight end being a need. We have currently one tight end on the roster who we know can be a dynamic receiving threat. Other than that, we have a guy who has 2 career catches and Will Dissly who has 2 career season-ending injuries. So don't be surprised if Shane Waldron feels like he needs another tight end to run his offense, because that's what he had in LA. He had Tyler Higbee and Gerald Everett. Well, he's got Gerald Everett here, so I've been thinking maybe he wants his Tyler Higbee. Maybe he feels like he could use another tight end more than he could even use another wide receiver. Maybe he would rather go 2 tight end a lot than go 3 receiver all the time. It's something that the Rams have been doing a lot lately. So let's go ahead and go into it. Again, I don't think there was a ton of interest in drafting a tight end from Seahawks fans, so this stream is probably not going to get as many viewers as prior ones, but we're going to go ahead and go with it regardless. Hello, Michael. Welcome. So, with that in mind, let's go ahead and open up with the first batch of prospects. And really, you could divide this group into 2 groups, the first 3 and then the last 3, but let's go ahead and just show all 6. I'm more interested in corner and center, but tight end would be nice as well. Yeah, yeah. The problem is I don't like this draft for centers. I really don't. I understand that we have a need there, and all you need is one good prospect. But the guys that I like, I don't think are going to start as rookies. All right, so let's go ahead and get underway here with the prospects. These are all guys who I think will go in the second round, third round, or fourth round. And I want to reiterate one thing. This is a great draft class for tight ends for the Seahawks and the picks they have because there's only one slam dunk top ranked tight end, top 50 tight end, and it's Kyle Pitts, who we will obviously never get. But other than that, there is no other guaranteed tight end to go in the first 45 to 50 picks, probably. So, anyway, first guy on this list is my favorite. I kind of fell in love with him when I watched highlights. Pat Freiermuth, 22 years old from Penn State. They call him Baby Gronk, and there's a reason why. He plays like Gronk. He looks like Gronk. He wears the same number as Gronk. He is Baby Gronk. 6'5", 250 pounds, 4.72 40 time. Very Higbee-ish. He's got about the same size, and he's just a tiny bit faster. So when I saw him, I was like, if Shane Waldron wants a tight end who is bigger and slower and a better blocker and somebody who can still make plays down the field, this might be the guy. So his best season was 2019. He had 43 catches for 500 yards and 7 touchdowns. Year before, he was a great red zone threat, had 8 touchdowns that year. Did not get to fully showcase his talents as a junior in 2020 because of COVID and because of an injury. Most draft experts think he's going to be a mid-second round pick. Tankathon, ESPN, Pro Football Focus, the Draft Network. Most places think he'll be a mid-second, so he might be just beyond our reach, but he might be within our reach too. It is not inconceivable that he falls to 56 overall. So this guy is the universal, clear-cut, no doubt about it, number 2 tight end in this draft. Everyone knows that Kyle Pitts is going to go in the top 15, probably top 10. And Pat Freiermuth is the clear number 2. He should be a big-time impact receiver in the NFL immediately. He's got good hands, and he's a good route runner. Should make him good as a rookie. This guy should be in the running for Rookie of the Year as long as he can stay healthy and finds himself in the right offense. I really don't think we use a pick on a tight end. Probably not, but I want to discuss the possibility because I think it's more likely than some people are letting on. The only way I see them drafting a tight end is if they make at least 2 trades and end up with 6 picks. Maybe they find a guy in the 5th round. Yeah, that's on the table as well. There is one guy in the 5th round range who's grown on me. There are a few, but yeah, that's a very strong possibility as well. So anyway, Pat Freiermuth, he's physical. He knows how to use his size well. He knows how to use his size to make tough catches and box people out. He's fast for his frame. Players as big as Pat Freiermuth are usually not as fast as Freiermuth is. The worst I can say about Freiermuth is that he should be a good blocker, but as of right now, he's not. There's no reason why he shouldn't develop into being a good blocker, but for the moment, Penn State simply didn't use him that way. So he's got something to prove there, but I'm not too worried about it personally. So that is Pat Freiermuth. He's my favorite tight end in this draft who the Seahawks could get. And I'm telling you this, people are going to disagree with me, but if we get to pick 56 and Pat Freiermuth is still available, I'm having a very hard time trading down. I think I would jump on that because I think he's really good and I think he's just what we need to complete this offense. So I don't know what you guys think of Pat Freiermuth. If you have any takes on this guy, if you watched him play in college, go ahead and voice him. But I'm in love. This is one of the prospects who I absolutely fell in love with. All right, so the next guy is another pretty much consensus top 3 tight end. Nobody that I found has Brevin Jordan as anything other than the number 3 tight end in this draft class. Brevin Jordan, 20 years old, very young, very intriguing on that regard. Never seen him. I like Disley and not sure why we would kick him to the curb. Well, we wouldn't kick him to the curb, but Disley is going to be a free agent next year. And also, if he has another injury, I'm just putting this out there, he might retire. Like if he has another major injury, wouldn't you just be like, okay, football isn't for me. I'm gonna get out of here. Just something to think about. I'm not saying I think it's going to happen, but it's on the table. And again, he's a free agent next year. Can you do a video on linebackers in the draft? I will bow hello. I have that on the schedule. That's next week. No, it's in a couple weeks. So, Brevin Jordan, he's a little smaller than Pat Freiermuth, which I don't love, but it's fine. 6'3", 245 pounds, runs a 4.64 40 time. Very nice athlete, very dynamic receiving threat. His best season was 2020, 38 catches, 576 yards, 7 touchdowns. Sporting News thinks he's going to be a mid-second rounder, and everyone else thinks he's going to be a third rounder. So he's probably going to be an early third rounder, maybe a late second. The thing with Brevin Jordan is he had a bad pro day, or at least not a very good pro day, which is making people think that he could have gone in the mid to late second, but the pro day cost him a little bit. So we are probably looking at a early third rounder. So if the Seahawks trade back to the early part of the third round and Brevin Jordan is there, that would definitely intrigue me. This is a young and talented tight end. He lines up all over the place and he makes plays. He lines up tight, he lines up wide, he lines up in the slot, he lines up in the backfield. I saw him catch screen passes, I saw him catch dump offs, saw him go down the middle of the field and catch passes 30 yards down the field. I saw him do all kinds of stuff. He's a capable blocker. He's mostly a dynamic receiver, but I think he can develop into a capable blocker. I wouldn't call him good, but it seems like his heart is in the right place. He's a good athlete for his size. He's got good ball skills, knows how to find the ball in the air. He's a yard after the catch monster. The Miami Hurricanes used him on little dump offs all the time and asked him to go make something out of these short passes, and he did it all the time, which Waldron likes that kind of stuff. He does need to get slightly better as a route runner, and he does need to add a little bit of strength. And one thing I will point out with Brevin Jordan, he kind of reminds me of Gerald Everett, and we already have Gerald Everett. Now, that's a problem if Gerald Everett is going to be here for the long term, but it's not that much of a problem if you think he's just going to be here for 1 year and tap out. So depends. All right. So let me know what you guys think of Brevin Jordan. Washi, there are three positions I draft with our 56th pick: tight end, receiver, center. I agree with most of that. I would be willing to take a tight end. I would be willing to take a receiver. I would be willing to take a center, but the problem with center is I don't like the center prospects in this draft. I would much rather get a low level prospect. Those guys I actually kind of like. Also, I would be willing to take a tackle because we need tackle help in the imminent future. I would also be willing to take a cornerback. I know some people are kind of against that, and I kind of get why, but I just want one more good bite at the apple here. I would be okay taking a corner, even though I think you can make a pretty good argument that we don't need to because there are so many good corners later in the draft. Who do you think is going to be on the board QB wise when it's time to draft? Well, that doesn't matter to us, Adrian. We're not taking a quarterback in this class, or if we do, it's going to be much later. And who the hell knows who's going to be available then? I don't know if Everett will be here long term. That's why I think Brevin Jordan makes the most sense. Yeah, that's fair for the future. Yeah. I was going to say tackle, but I was thinking about the now, not the long term. Well, the thing is, Shell gets injured a lot, and Dwayne Brown's like 58 years old, so he might get hurt too. So you do need somebody who can step in. And is that guy Jamarco Jones? Is it Cedric Ogbuehi? Maybe. I like Trey Smith as my second round pick for us, unless Kelvin Joseph or Tyson Campbell is available. Yeah, I looked up Trey Smith. He doesn't look like he plays in the phone booth. He plays in a phone booth. I don't want a center who plays in a phone booth. All right, so that's Brevin Jordan. I like him a lot. Very unique and talented athlete. All right, let's go to Okay, real quick. I know we said some stuff about Colby Parkinson, but I'd like to see him over most of these guys. Um, the thing is, I find it impossible to believe that Colby Parkinson will ever be more than just a number two tight end. So his ceiling to me is kind of a red zone threat tight end. He can't be your number one. If he's your number one, you're going to have a bad time. So because of that, I would like to make sure we have a guy who could be our future number one sooner rather than later if we can afford to use a pick there. Shell wasn't hurt a lot last year. I'm pretty sure he missed like 2 to 3 games. Yeah, but he had like 2 to 3 separate injuries. So it's something to think about. Okay, next up, we're going to talk about Tommy Tremble, and this guy's fascinating to me. Tommy Tremble, 22 years old from Notre Dame, 6'4, 248 pounds, 4.5940. So he's big and fast. Nice combination of athleticism. 400 career receiving yards. So he didn't get many passes thrown his way at Notre Dame. And right away, people, I know people are going to be looking at that thinking, why are we talking about this dude who has 400 career receiving yards? I've seen players get 400 receiving yards in a game. Well, no, you haven't, but maybe you've seen him do it in 2 games. However, despite that, he is projected to be a third round pick by Sporting News and the Draft Network. And Pro Football Focus, ESPN, and Pro Football Network say he's going to be a fourth round pick. So I think he's going to be a late third, personally. I think this guy's going to go in the late third. He's got size, he's got speed. The thing with Tommy Tremble is he played behind Cole Kmet and Michael Mayer in college, and because of that, he ended up being their main blocking tight end, and he was phenomenal as a blocking tight end. This guy takes his blocking seriously. This guy is the best blocking tight end in college in the draft. He gives great effort and has a great motor. He blocks like a tackle. He takes that stuff seriously. Um, His production in college is still weak, and anyone who wants to point that out is not wrong. He may take a year to develop as a pass catcher, although I will say I think he will be able to get on the field a lot just because he is a phenomenal blocker. And his athleticism is so noteworthy that it's hard for me to believe that he won't be a dynamic pass catcher at some point. So yeah, basically Tommy Tremble is like Will Disley except better in every way. That's what I'm seeing with Tommy Tremble. I'm very interested in him in the late third or early fourth if we have a pick in that range. Also, Trey Smith is a guard, 6'6 with LTRT flexibility. See, we don't need a guard at all right now, so I'm kind of not a big fan of that. I'm not crazy about that. To me, a lot of the guys who are of flexibility are supposed to play guard, and you can play tackle if you point a gun to their head. So I don't know if I like that. Parkinson is a tower. Imagine a guy like that for Russ to throw to. Yeah, but those kinds of talents are best utilized in the red zone. So I'm thinking, okay, what about when we're not in the red zone? Which one of these guys is from UW? We don't have a tight end in the draft this year. Disley is our blocking tight end, but good possession tight end. Yeah, but he's not a dynamic playmaker at all at this point, and I don't know if he's ever going to get back to it. And again, he's a free agent next year. I just want to say we don't know if we need an athletic center because we have a lot of big boys on the O line, so I think Waldron will make the scheme big boy friendly. The center class is really good if you don't care if the center is athletic or not. Yeah, I've thought about that too, Washi. I've thought about that too. I don't know why we would have re-signed Posick unless we are looking for a center with who's athletic. Because Posick, his the seat of his power is his ability to move and play in space because he's not that strong. So I don't think we would have re-signed Posick if we were looking for somebody who was just strong. So yeah, I'm not. I know what you mean. Like Gabe Jackson is kind of a big boy, but I feel like he can move in space pretty well. Okay, so that's Tommy Tremble. Very fascinating prospect. If he's there in the late third or early fourth, I want a piece of that. So those are my top three. Those are three guys who I really like. Those three guys, if they are available for the Seahawks to take at a reasonable draft level, I'm really eager to jump on that. So let's swing over to the next tier. These are guys who I like, but at a much lower draft position and with much less enthusiasm. Disley showed vertical threat ability before he ruptured his Achilles 2 years ago. Yeah, I agree, but I didn't see it last year. See, maybe he can get it back, but there's no guarantee. He had an opportunity to become our featured tight end last year. Olsen got hurt. Hollister was Hollister. Colby didn't get on the field until Olsen got hurt. So Disley had every opportunity to become a dynamic pass catcher last year, and it didn't happen. So I don't know if he's ever going to get it back, and I'm not willing to sit around and cross my fingers on him getting it back if you have the opportunity to get somebody who you know is going to be a lot better. Well, maybe I just think it would be great for us to have someone who is really nice at short side to side routes, and a tall 6'7" guy would be great. Yeah, yeah. Again, I just don't think he can ever be a primary tight end. So I'm thinking about who's the next primary tight end. Yeah, yeah, Micah. I don't think Disley's going to be back the way that he was. I think line issues killed Disley. He spent a lot of time blocking. That's possible. He is a great blocker, and we don't want to take that away from him. But at this point, Will Disley's 40 time is probably about 5.1 seconds because it was 4.9 when he came out of college. It's probably like 5.1 at this point. And there's only so much you can do with a tight end who moves that friggin' slow. All right, so tight end number 4, we're going to talk about here real quick. Hunter Long, 22 years old from Boston College. He's solid all around. He's not an amazing athlete. You're not going to watch him and think, oh, this is the next, Jimmy Graham. This is the next Antonio Gates. But you're going to come away thinking he has a chance to be productive in a John Carlson kind of way, maybe. 6'5", 254 pounds, 4.6540. So he's got a very nice combination of size and speed. One of the most impressive in the draft, honestly. He's not an overall great athlete, but he does have great speed for his size. The positions I'd want to draft with the 56th pick are receiver, tight end, or tackle. I'd only draft tackle if there's a good tackle there and there aren't any good tight ends or receivers. Yeah, that's pretty close. I'm I'm open to corner, but other than that, I pretty much agree with everything you're saying there. Also, Russ never looked Disley's way. He was always locked on DK and Tyler. Yeah, it might have had something to do with Schottenheimer. That's possible. But Schottenheimer didn't have a problem using Disley the first 2 years Disley was here. It seemed like we were doing really well in that regard, and then he got hurt, so we'll never know. I don't want us to use pick 56 at all, trade back. There are too many holes to fill. I actually have to really disagree with that, Rabbit. I think we have very few holes, which is why I don't really want to trade back at all, because I feel like I'd rather get one or two players who I know will contribute as rookies than 7 or 8 guys who might make the roster and hang around and get in garbage time. I don't. I feel like we don't have that many holes. Honestly, what I was thinking, if Seattle decided to do so, we could draft a guard like Smith or someone of the sorts and start them, but then move Lewis to center. That's dangerous, but it is certainly a possibility, something worth discussing if we indicate that we're interested in going that way. So anyway, Hunter Long, good 2019, 28 catches, 500 yards, had a great 2020, 57 catches, 685 yards, 5 touchdowns. The most utilized tight end in the nation last year. Hunter Long is expected to be a third round pick by most publications, which is I expect him to be kind of a late third rounder. C, OT, receiver, linebacker, cornerback, interior defensive line. Okay, let me address what Rabbitron just said real quick. Okay, center, yes, but it's not a great draft class to address center. So we should probably just be looking to get a backup for Posick because that's the way the cookie has crumbled. Offensive tackle, we don't need starters, but we do need to think about depth. You're right about that. Receiver, sure. Linebacker, Only a Sam, and Sams don't matter that much, so keep things in mind. Cornerback, yes. Interior defensive line, no. We do not need more interior defensive linemen. The interior defensive line is fine. The only thing is Parkinson may not be great with yards after the catch, but maybe he just needs to be set up to have that specific routes and whatnot. Yeah, we won't know yet. We won't know quite a while. I'd hate drafting a corner unless someone like Caleb Farley falls. This corner draft is loaded with the prototypical Pete Carroll corner. You can find plenty of them. Yeah, Washi, that's absolutely fair. It's absolutely fair to point that out. Okay, so Hunter Long, real quick. Good route runner with solid hands. He's a natural pass catcher. When I watched him play, I was very impressed with his ball skills. He would find passes in traffic. He would bring down catches in traffic. He's just looks very natural out there running routes and catching passes. He's a good blocker, maybe not amazing, but he's good. He lines up all over the place for the Boston College offense. He's got good speed for his size. Not a great overall athlete in terms of like his quickness and agility and making people miss and stuff like that. He's not a huge yard after the catch type threat, but not bad. He could stand to get a little bit stronger. He does have some technique issues in his game. But I think this guy would probably be starting from day one as a tight end. Well, not starting, but he would slot in as tight end 2 immediately. For Sam linebacker position, we can just sign Aldon Smith or some random off the street. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. We do need to think about Sam, but in all likelihood, you can probably just find a guy. You might already have the guy on the team, Daryl Taylor. There's been a lot of. I'm going to make a video about this soon, by the way, but Daryl Taylor might be able to slot over to Sam. And that might be the best way for him to get on the field this year. Okay. So that's Hunter Long. I don't know if anybody has any takes on him, any hot takes, but I like him well enough. He kind of makes me. He's more like John Carlson than he is Jimmy Graham or Antonio Gates, admittedly. But there are places in the world for that kind of player. I don't think we need a tight end. Everett, Parkinson, Disley should be enough. It's enough. It is enough. But is enough good enough? And if you can get better than enough, if you can become, great, maybe you do that. Trey Mckinney is the funniest name I've heard. It sounds like a McDonald's and a Cat in the Hat child. Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Okay, next up we're going to do Kenny Yeboah, 22 years old from Ole Miss. This guy is a very intriguing athlete. I like this guy a lot. 6'4", 247 pounds, 4.50 40. Yes, Washi. I confess that we may not be able to get him because he'll probably go before our pick, but I love him. I think he's amazing. I think he's baby Gronk. Yeah, of course I heard about Aldon Smith Bow. Hello, I made a video about it earlier today. Okay, so Kenny Yeboah was relatively quiet as a receiver until 2020. He broke out, had 27 catches for 524 yards and 6 touchdowns. I think something must be up with one of our defensive ends injury-wise. There's never been a team in the history of the NFL to carry 7 defensive ends. Roster limitations don't allow this. Well, that's why I think we might be planning to move somebody to Sam, linebacker. I want that Israel Mukamu quarterback. Yeah, I do like him too. Although, I want to point out here real quick, there are a couple of people who say that his professional comp is Trey Flowers. I saw that and was like, ooh. But I like Israel Mukamu a lot. All right, so Kenny Yeboah. Most places think he's going to be about a 5th-round pick. His draft stock's all over the place. PFN says 4th-rounder. Draft Network says 5th. ESPN says 7th. Pro Football Focus and Walter Football say unranked. I think he'll probably be a 5th-rounder, personally. I think some of the draft experts are missing the boat a little bit on this dude, but I'm going to say he's going to be a 5th-rounder. He's remarkably fast for his size. 4.50 40 with a 250-pound frame is no joke. And if you want to see what this guy can do, go watch the highlights against Alabama last year because he roasted Alabama. He roasted Alabama. I think he had like 2 touchdowns and well over 100 yards in that game. We you need a guy that can get a jump ball in the end zone. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at, Green Earth. We need a Tyler Higbee to complement our Gerald Everett. And I just don't think Disley's that guy anymore. I think the injuries have kind of boned him over. So anyway, Kenny Yeboah lined up all over the place in college. He lined up at receiver. He lined up at tight end. He lined up in the backfield. He lined up in the slot. He did all kinds of different stuff in terms of where he lined up. He has good hands. He ran good routes. He was mostly deadly in the middle of the field. I saw a ton of plays where he would just sneak behind the linebackers and catch a quick pass over the middle. He caught a lot of touchdowns like that. He's great in the red zone. He's a mediocre blocker, admittedly, not a great blocker, and he does need more time to develop despite having a 5-year college career. But this mix of size and speed is rare. I like this guy a lot. All right. We need, let's see here. I'd die if we somehow pulled off a trade up for Stokes. I wouldn't, don't know if I would want to trade up for him, but Stokes is so good. I would have to be, I would have to consider it. A Green Earth. He went to Ole Miss. Ole Miss. I think he spent a few years at Temple, but he spent his last year, his breakout season at Ole Miss. Okay. Sixth and final tight end in this group, we're going to do Trey McKinney, 22 years old from the Georgia Bulldogs. This guy is kind of another step down in terms of, talent. Yeah, you week 2K. Sorry you got here late. We talked a lot about Tommy Tremble a little earlier, but to recap E Week 2K. I really like Tommy Tremble. He's very interesting to me. It seems very obvious to me that he's a good enough athlete to become a dynamic pass catcher in the NFL. He just hasn't had the chance yet. So he might be the best tight end in this draft outside of Pitts, and people just don't know because Notre Dame didn't use him like that. So anyway, Trey McKinney had two pretty good years in 2018 and 2019, 250 yards, 25 catches. He's 6'4", 247 pounds, and runs a 4.74 time. So not the greatest mix of size and speed, but he's reasonably big and he's not slow. Walter Football likes him a lot. They think he might go in the third or fourth round. ESPN says fourth round, and everyone else says fifth or sixth round. So what I can say about Trey McKinney is there's nothing overly exciting about him, but he's a pretty good athlete. He's got good body control. He was the move tight end for the Georgia offense. Good blocker, decent blocker, I should say. Great with yards after the catch. That's the one thing about him that stood out to me. He seems like he's a really good yard after the catch player, and he's versatile enough to fit into any kind of offense: vertical, West Coast, spread, power running, zone running. He's got some versatility. Man, if the Seahawks had signed AJ Green 2 years ago, I wouldn't have been that happy about it. So, the fact that we got Cardinals fans 2 years later signing AJ Green and getting all excited about it kind of tells you where we are in terms of fan expectations. No, Micah. The next prospects I'm going to look at are tackles. After tackles, I am going to do Sam linebackers. Yes, but I don't think that's a huge concern, especially if we get Alden Smith to move him to Sam linebacker. Yeah, Israel Mukamu was definitely one of the names that's been intriguing me for a while, but the more I looked into him, the more I liked him. So those are the six tight ends who struck out to me as top prospects for the Seahawks. Freiermuth, Jordan, Tremble, Long, Yaboa, and McKitty. I like them. I like some of them more than others. Freiermuth looks like the next Gronkowski. Brevin Jordan looks like the next Antonio Gates. Tommy Tremble, dynamic talent, very intriguing talent. Hunter Long, more of a traditional non-athletic tight end to me, but still good. Yeah, Michael, it's going to be tough to find a good tackle unless we decide to use our second round pick on it. But I did my best to research tackles to try to find somebody who might be intriguing. All right. I think we should draft USCS Hufanga and play him at Sam. Hmm. I kind of hope that we sign somebody soon that makes it so we don't have to worry about drafting a Sam. I just don't want to think about Sam linebacker anymore. I don't want to think about Sam linebacker anymore. It's not that important of a position. We just need somebody who can do it without crapping their pants. I don't want to think about it anymore. KJ might be the guy. Yeah, Michael points it out. KJ might be coming back. KJ might be the Sam linebacker in 2021 after all. I honestly I don't even know if AJ Green's played the last 2 years. Yeah, yeah, Michael. If we get KJ right, then we don't have to worry about Sam linebacker at all. All right. So, we're going to segue over to the sleeper tight ends in this draft. This part might be more interesting to some of you because I think a lot of you don't want to use one of our top picks on a tight end. You want to use low picks on a tight end. So, these guys might interest you a little bit more. But before we get into that, I want to say thank you to everybody for coming out. We got like 25 people in here right now, I think. So I want to thank you all for coming out. Please like the stream if you haven't yet. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and you want daily Seahawks content. Click the join button down below to become a member for $2 or $5 a month to gain access to perks, and donations via Super Chat or PayPal are always appreciated. All right. That being said, let's swing over to the next collection of 6 tight end prospects who caught my eye. Now, this is going to be kind of quick. I don't have a ton to say about any of these guys, really, but I think they're worth discussing. Hey, Mass Temple. Washi, yeah, don't worry about it. Pro Wells. Pro Wells. Washi, even if I do, he's not going to listen to what I say, right? Like, that's the point of trolling. It doesn't matter what the other person says. Pro Wells tight end. God, do I not know that name? I feel like I don't. All right, I'm going to have to take the L on that one because I researched tight ends a lot and I don't think I saw that name. Okay, so these are tight ends who I expect to go in the 5th round, 6th round, 7th round, or undrafted. Here they are. So let's start with Tony Poljan. One thing with Tony Poljan, he might be a little redundant with Colby Parkinson. He's kind of the same type of guy, I think, except maybe a little more dynamic in the receiving game. He's 6'7" and 255 pounds. He's huge. Runs a 4.840, not very fast. Another guy he might make you think of would be Tyler Higbee, which I'm kind of interested in. He had over 400 yards in each of his 2 seasons at Virginia, including almost 500 in 2019. His draft value all over the place. I think he's probably going to be a 5th or 6th round pick. Pro Football Network thinks he's going to go undrafted, but I think he's probably going to be a late 5th round. He's got a massive frame, which makes him both a mismatch in coverage and a good blocker. He can catch the ball over smaller defensive backs. He can catch the ball getting behind linebackers. He's very good in the middle of the field. I saw him make a lot of plays. Um, I saw him make a lot of plays in the middle of the field. He's got very good hands. He's got a strong motor. The reason why he's not a higher pick is he's not a great athlete, which you can see in his speed. But in general, his quickness is not great. His agility is not great. He's not very good at winning 50-50 balls, which is really something you need to work on if you're going to be a big tight end in the NFL. But probably something he can work on. He's not necessarily going to make a ton of big plays. He might be a taller version of Will Dissly. He might be a taller version of Will Dissly. It's hard to say for sure, but that's a possibility. Or he might be a slightly more playmaking version of Colby Parkinson. Hard to tell right now, but he's something like that. And that mixture of size is very, very interesting to me. Size and relative speed. Washi, if you wait like 2 minutes, he's going to be untimed out. Just wait for 2 minutes. Jeez. Goddamn millennials or Zoomers or whatever have no patience. Whatever you are, a Zoomer. Okay, so that's Tony Poljan. Very interesting prospect, but not exactly what I'm thinking here. Again, this guy might be redundant with Colby Parkinson. Hey, Danny P, what's up? Hey, Michael, what's up? Okay, here's prospect number 2. This guy's probably my favorite in this area. It's Nick Eubanks from Michigan. He's a little old. He's already 24. Not our favorite thing. But he's big and he's fast. 6'5", 256 pounds, and a 4.5940. So he's got sub 4.6 speed on top of weighing over 255 pounds. Rabbitron, I'm 31. He never put up big stats at Michigan, but that was because Michigan had terrible quarterbacks. His best season was 2019. He had 25 catches for 243 yards and 4 touchdowns. Walter Football likes him the best. They think he's going to go from the 4th through the 6th, but everywhere else thinks he's going to be a 6th or 7th round pick. I think he's probably going to be about a 6th round pick, but I think he deserves a lot better, personally. I think, Seahawks guy, knock it off. Enough of that. I think this guy is clearly more talented than the numbers that he's put up so far in college. He clearly has the talent. You don't be that fast and that big without being capable of being a much bigger playmaker than just 243 yards in a season. He can exploit mismatches on linebackers. He should fit in well as an H tight end, beating linebackers in coverage. He's got a very appealing size and speed combo, and he's really good with yards after the catch. That was one of his best assets. Nicholas, can you get the stupid spammer out of here, please? Thank you. Jeebus. Okay. He does probably need a little bit of time to develop, but we have time. We can afford to let a tight end develop. We can afford to have him develop over the course of a rookie season where he doesn't even see the field because we have tight ends for the moment. So if we decide to use a late round pick on a tight end, Nick Eubanks is probably my guy, probably my favorite. Okay, now let's chug on to prospect number 3. I know we have a couple of fans of Nick Eubanks in the chat, so go ahead and sound off if you like the guy, but I'm going to go ahead and chug-a-lug along. Carrie Angeline, 24 years old from North Carolina State, the Wolfpack. This is another Colby Parkinson type. He's 6'7", 250 pounds, 4.8440, so we're kind of looking at the same thing. Didn't George Kittle go to Iowa? Any skill connections? Iowa does do a good job of turning out tight end talent generally. Sean Bayer was honestly not one of them, but we'll get to Sean Bayer in a minute. So Carrie Angeline, best season was 2020. He had 27 catches, 412 yards, and 6 touchdowns. And nobody thinks he's going to get drafted. Nobody thinks he's going to get drafted. So you can probably get him in UDFA. Okay, somebody get him out of here for good. Nicholas, can you, like, thank you? Yeah. Yeah, you week 2K. I'm coming around that too. I like Eubanks. I like Eubanks. Okay, so Carrie Angeline, probably going to go undrafted, so you don't even have to use a draft pick to get him. Sign me up for that. He's been very productive the last 2 years for the Wolfpack. He played tight end, he played slot receiver, he lined up in the backfield, so he did it all. His size speaks for itself. When you're that big, you're just going to be tough to cover if you're a defensive back or a linebacker. It's just tough to cover a 6'7" guy. He's got great hands. He's got good ball skills. He's a natural receiver. I saw a lot of stuff from him. He's also a pretty good blocker. Not a great one, but he knows how to use his length. Okay, Washi, my stream is not your playground. Okay? I'm sorry that you're entertained by people who just spam the chat for no reason, but that's not entertaining to anybody else. Okay, so he's a decent blocker, not a great blocker. He's not a great athlete, which is why, he would have been a much higher draft pick if he was a better athlete. Not a great playmaker in terms of somebody who's going to make a bunch of guys miss or break a bunch of tackles, but he's he's intriguing. I saw him make some really nice catches in the back of the end zone for the Wolfpack. I saw him use his size well. I like him. And I don't know if I would use a pick on him, but if he's there in UDFA, I'm all over that. Bring him on to practice squad. Anyway, I love Carrie Angeline and I loved him at NC State. Our offense is low key underrated. Yeah, I don't know if I would, like I said, I don't know if I would use a pick on him, but I kind of like him well enough to at least consider picking him up in UDFA. All right. Home stretch, guys. Now we've got the super sleepers. John Bates from Boise State. He's got the size, 6'6", 259 pounds. Speed is okay, 4.8, not great, not spectacular or anything, but fast enough for his size. 2019 was his best season. 22 catches, 273 yards, and one touchdown. And other than that, he was relatively quiet as a receiver in his career. I wish the Seahawks would draft a tight end, but I'm afraid they won't because it would invalidate the Parkinson pick. They still want to be right about him. Well, you can still like Parkinson and still take a tight end. Okay? Remember, Disley and Everett are both free agents at the end of the year. So we may need to completely redo our tight end room after this season. And as of right now, the only tight end on the roster who will be on the roster in 2022 is Colby Parkinson. So you can go tight end X Colby Parkinson, and that's the foundation of your tight end room. You can still like Colby and still acknowledge he might not be ready yet. What do you think of Elijah Moore from Ole Miss? He's a wide receiver who could be decent. I don't think he's going to get down to our pick. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it's mostly just because of his size. What do you think? What's your opinion on Kyle Pitts? Oh, he's a monster for sure. He's going to be a top 10 pick, I think, almost certainly. Okay, John Bates. Pro Football Focus thinks he'll be a sixth round pick. Draft Network thinks he'll be a seventh round pick. So does Pro Football Network. Everyone else thinks he's going undrafted or maybe being a seventh round pick. Well, Ethan, that's kind of the question. The thing is, you could get somebody who ends up being much more effective than you expect. If I don't know if you week 2K is still in the chat, but if we got Eubanks in the sixth round, we might expect him to be a bit player as a rookie, somebody who can just be serviceable. But after 2021, when he develops, he might be the guy. And maybe our tight ends going forward are Eubanks and Parkinson. Thoughts on Clowney? No real thoughts on Clowney. All right, so John Bates, large and tough. He is big and he knows how to use it. He's a tough player, versatile enough to be a good pass catcher and an effective blocker in the NFL. He does both. He runs good routes. He has solid hands. made a lot of plays down the field at Boise State. He was not somebody who just caught little 5 yard passes. He um he's slow and not a great athlete. Probably never going to be more than a third tight end in the NFL, but we may need a new third tight end in a year or two. So honestly, if that's all he can be, then there's something to be said for that because he might not even get drafted. Um, One thing I'm going to say about John Bates here, a caveat about this dude, is a lot of his big plays came on trick plays, and I don't know how that's going to translate to the NFL. But he made a lot of catches on the Philly special and flea flickers. Michael Kendricks isn't okay. Yeah, I'd be okay with Eubanks in the sixth given our other needs, but man, I want Tremble. Hey, I mean, I want Freiermuth. I want Brevin Jordan, but um, there's only so much you can do. Believe me, I get it. But that being said, I would not complain about drafting any of those guys with the second round or third round picks. All right, so that's John Bates. Two more guys, and then we're gonna wrap it up here. We're starting to scrape the bottom of the barrel here. We got Sean Bayer from Iowa. He's pretty big and passably fast, 6'5", 246, and 4.7 time. Somebody in my comment section compared him to Jacob Hollister, which is not the most flattering comparison, but at the same time, Jacob Hollister did find a way to contribute in the NFL a little bit. Okay. If there's a mod still in the chat, get Fortnite fun out of here. Is Aaron Donald a criminal? We don't know yet. I think the other guy might have started the fight. Okay, so Sean Bayer, he has 18 career receptions for about 280 yards and one touchdown. So you're probably wondering what the hell are we talking about here, but I kind of feel like the guy showcased some talent in the passing game that just wasn't really utilized. So the only website that thinks he's going to get drafted is the Draft Network, and they have him as a late seventh. So odds are pretty good you could just not use a pick on him and just bring him in as an undrafted free agent, and it would be fine. Very good athlete for his size, I have to say. Um, I know they didn't use him as a receiver a lot at Iowa, but I think he's actually a relatively impressive athlete. No, no, Green Earth. I know Fortnite Fun. He trolled my chats constantly back in the day and made 8 million alt accounts to troll my chats more, and I kept banning him every time he made a new account. So this is just his newest account, so get him out of here ASAP. Yes, Ethan's Tech World. Having two great Ts would give us a schematic advantage and really strengthen our run game and take defensive pressure from DK and Lockett. Yes, yes, I completely agree. I think that Waldron might want to have two dynamic tight ends because I don't think Disley is ever going to be that again. And I don't think that Parkinson is ready to be that yet, at least, and may never be. It's hard to know. Anyway, Sean Bayer, he's got good ball skills, and he made some big plays at Iowa. Not a lot because the stats speak for themselves, but he made some big plays at Iowa. He's very raw. He hasn't played tight end that much. I think he initially came in as a wide receiver. It might be a couple years before this guy can even make the active roster. But Sean Bayer is somebody who I would go after in UDFA. Who was the best tight end for Seattle in the last decade? It probably has to be Jimmy Graham. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do one more, and then we're going to wrap it up. Matt Bushman, BYU. So here's the thing. He's 25 years old already because he's a Mormon and he did his mission last year, which is why he also didn't play. So I don't know about this one, guys. That's already kind of... But that being said, that doesn't make him a bad player, and it doesn't make him somebody we shouldn't consider. Who's the most athletic tight end we can get in this draft? Probably Brevin Jordan. Is Steven Sullivan just donezo? I think he's on the Panthers. Didn't we cut him? I'm pretty sure we cut Steven Sullivan. Anyway, Matt Bushman had a very prolific career at BYU. Over 3 seasons, he had over 120 catches and 1,700 receiving yards and 9 touchdowns. All right, so ESPN has him as a fifth round pick. Walter Football says fifth through seventh, and everyone else says undrafted, although they do think he will probably find his way to a team. Tobiris, that's a reasonable choice. Didn't Disley have better stats than Kittle before he got injured in 2019? Maybe, but that was 2019. That has no bearing on what we're doing this year. So Matt Bushman can align in multiple spots. He can line up everywhere. Combination of athleticism and size makes him dangerous. He's 6'5" and got a 4.740, so more than good enough in that regard. He's got a very big catch radius and knows how to bring in tough catches. He runs good routes, knows how to make yards after the catch, which is rare in this part of the draft, I want to say. Decent blocker, not great, but decent. And he is a little older than the average rookie. So Matt Bushman would be an intriguing option in UDFA. I don't think I would be willing to spend a draft pick on him. But yeah, that wraps it up, guys. So those are the 12 tight ends who caught my attention. Um, yeah, I'm a little different from you, Week 2K, on this. I'm willing to cut Parkinson a little bit of slack because he broke his foot and missed basically all of the offseason before the season started, and maybe even a little after that. I can't remember, but he broke his foot. So there, I think it was a little much to ask him to do anything as a rookie because of that. But I'm not crazy high on Parkinson. I think his ceiling is a tight end too. How often do tight ends threes gets utilized? Depends on the offense, but not that often, generally speaking. I think that's fair, unless they line up in unconventional spots. So let the record show that if Pat Freiermuth is there at pick 56, I would definitely put him on the list for guys that I would be willing to take. I would not trade down if Freiermuth is there. I would also be very interested in trading back to the third and getting Brevin Jordan and or Tommy Tremble. I like both these guys a lot. And Hunter, and excuse me, Nick Eubanks is an intriguing sixth round option. Those are my guys, but all of these guys interest me to varying levels. So I'm going to take a couple minutes here to field questions, and then I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Is Disley good? He might still be okay, I guess. Appreciate your grind. You give me something to watch while eating my breakfast. Thank you. Bow, hello. Hunter Long is from Boston College, yes. Why you guys release Hollister? We didn't release him. He was just a free agent. He had to go somewhere else. I don't. I wasn't a fan of Hollister. Long won't be there for us. Well, he'll definitely be there for our second round pick. I wouldn't want to spend our second round pick on him, but we would have a chance to take him if we like him. And I like him. I just don't love him. Pigeon. That's a reasonable path. I think I could probably do a little better than that. Neither will Freiermuth. Freiermuth will probably be gone by the time we pick. I will admit that. Do you know why we cut Sullivan? Because he sucked and we needed room on the roster? I don't think Penny will ever pan out running back needed. Maybe. That's something we're going to discuss in the near future. All right, guys. That'll do it for this stream. I'm going to get out of here. I will jump on Strikers probably very soon here. So keep an eye out for another stream to go live. We can talk about this more if you want to, but those are my tight ends. So I'm going to get out of here. Peace out. Go Hawks. And hey, we're getting closer and closer to the draft, guys. I'm excited. So should you guys be.